You want healthy and welcoming communities? You want great recreational opportunities? Man, do you want a strong New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. The reason I say this is because right now, DEC, with 2% of the state jobs in New York, is facing proposed layoffs by Governor Patterson of 209 more staff. That's 10% of the layoffs being proposed. That's 5 times DEC's proportional share. DEC has lost 25% of its workforce. It's lost 1,000 people since I left. And that's also disproportionate to the other cuts that have been suffered in the 10 years since then. The water division at DEC, the one that we at Riverkeeper care very greatly about. I was told recently by a member of the senior staff at DEC that where the water division once had 640 staff, it now has 220. That's a cut of over 2/3, just about 2/3. And that is insane. You want to know what happens when you can't count on a strong DEC? You have too little regulatory capacity to deal with new issues like drilling for natural gas in the Marcellus Shale, which covers much of the state of New York, including a significant area of New York City's sole source drinking water supply. I learned recently from a very well-renowned environmental enforcement official, Ron Gatto, who works for the County of Westchester now and previously worked for the City of New York, the DEP up in the watershed. I asked him when he came to Pace to talk to the students who were working on Riverkeeper's cases, Ron, you've been doing this for 25 years. What's the biggest difference between what you're finding out in the field now as to what you found in the field 25 years ago? And he said, Paul, the violators 25 years ago, they tended to be more negligent, or they didn't know the laws, or they were just getting up to speed on the laws. Today, the violations are done by people who intend to violate the law. People have had time to get to know the law, people understand the law, and the ones who choose not to follow it are bad actors. And the problem is, when you've got these bad actors cutting their costs illegally, you've got good actors who want to follow the law, who are put at a competitive disadvantage. And this goes right at the issue of, is a good environmental enforcement capacity good for business or bad for business? Some people would tell you that it's bad for business to have a strong DEC. Well, let me tell you, it's bad for the bad guys to have a strong DEC. It's good for the good guys. In this country, we reward people who follow the law. We reward people who do what they're supposed to do, who do the right thing. You want to reward these people? Give DEC the staff to get the bad eggs out. We criticize DEC on a regular basis at Riverkeeper. There are things we want them to do that they're not doing. More and more frequently, what they say to us is, if we had the people, we'd do what you're telling us. We do what we know we need to do, but we don't have the people. The more you wait to restore the staff cuts at DEC, the more it will cost to do each of the cleanup jobs that we know needs to get done. The more it will cost to restore the damage that will be done by the bad actors. And the less effective it will be. This is bad math. This is bad economics. When you cut agencies who guarantee the quality of life of New York State, you end up spending more money down the road to fix what you broke by the cuts. It's penny wise and pound foolish. I want to close with a story that has developed over the last 2 days that shows that this isn't just about the agencies doing their thing. Riverkeeper, Clearwater, Scenic Hudson, the Bezak Center, the Science Barge, Groundwork Hudson Valley, they've all been collaborating on environmental enforcement for years. And just in the last couple of days, Bob Walter worked with John Lipscomb, our boat captain, worked with the folks on the Clearwater to identify a new illegal discharge of sewage. This is probably from a broken pipe, perhaps from a county facility, and the county apparently is working on it, but the discharge goes on unabated. As of this morning, Bob found information about it. We took samples. The samples are being analyzed by Lamont Doherty, and we called this all into DEC. So there are people fishing right next to us here. This is a quarter-mile away, this discharge that I'm talking about. You want people who need to fish for subsistence, who need to fish for their families, to have to deal with this with no DEC to come in and solve this problem? Is that the New York you want? Is that the vision you want for the future? Well, keep cutting the agency. If you want a cleaner, safer, more healthy, more economically robust, and altogether more inviting place to live, you invest in environmental enforcement, and you'll bear the benefit of it. Thank you.
Why don't you stay?
Okay.
Good morning. Thanks for gathering here. I'm Ned Sullivan, President of Scenic Hudson, and pleased to be here on this glorious day on the Yonkers waterfront. And what you see both on this side of the river and behind us are examples of what preservation of waterfront assets is all about. I wanted to recognize Jim Pinto, the Executive Director of the Waterfront and Downtown Development, who just left, a key partner with us in the redevelopment of the Yonkers waterfront. Rick Magner is here, the Executive Director of Clearwater Hudson Valley, and Cliff Schneider, who is the Executive Director of BZAC, and Bob Walters, the former Executive Director. These are all organizations and partners that understand the importance of revitalizing our waterfront, drawing people to the river's edge, and the economic benefits that goes with that. I wanted to emphasize the jobs that are associated with parkland and waterfront revitalization. Here we have photographs and illustrations of some of the success stories that are underway here. We have walkway over the Hudson up in Poughkeepsie, Dutchess and Ulster County. This is an amazing success story that created over 200 jobs during the construction phase and has drawn 750,000 people in the first year of its operation. A derelict railroad bridge that is now revitalizing Poughkeepsie and the town of Lloyd. A tremendous success that was projected to bring $14 million in economic benefit to the Mid-Hudson Valley when they were predicting just 200,000 people. We've had almost 750,000 in the first year. Just up the line in Sleepy Hollow, we have a renovation of a historic bathhouse that is engaging 33 people during its construction. This will become the centerpiece of the Westchester Riverwalk, linking Yonkers to Peekskill, and will bring tremendous economic benefits as well. We have construction going on right now in the city of Beacon in southern Dutchess County. 75 jobs are being created right now, through the restoration of a brownfield site on the Beacon waterfront, right next to the Dia Center for the Arts, the Dia Beacon, that draws roughly 100,000 people a year to that waterfront city. And then Jim Pinto, as I mentioned earlier, Executive Director of Waterfront and Downtown Development, has provided us this graphic of the daylighting of the Sawmill River, which is projected to occur right in Larkin Plaza, will revitalize downtown Yonkers tremendously, and will create 200 construction jobs. This matter will come before the City Council on Tuesday. There will be a public hearing, And I want to encourage everyone here and people throughout the region to come and talk to the City Council about the benefits that will be associated with that. This is an initiative that Groundwork Hudson Valley, the city leadership has been key in. The mayor is out front on this. He believes that this is going to be absolutely critical in revitalizing downtown Yonkers. So I just want to thank the city for its leadership. Groundwork Hudson Valley and Scenic Hudson and VZAC are all supporting this initiative, which Scenic Hudson helped scope out several years ago. I also want to call on state leaders to release $8 million for that project, the Dormitory Authority, and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to provide a grant to support this critical project, which will once again link people to a tributary of the Hudson River, will bring more people down to this great waterfront to enjoy places like X2O Restaurant and the Esplanade, the public garden that people enjoy. So, used to be that people thought about the environment versus the economy. What we're here to say is that the two go hand in hand, that by protecting the natural resources of the Hudson Valley, we will help restore the economy of the Hudson Valley and New York State. The Hudson Valley can lead the way. Now, in a couple of months, we're going to have new leadership in Albany. We're going to have a new governor. And I am here to call on the new governor to stop raiding the Environmental Protection Fund. The governor and the legislature have viewed the Environmental Protection Fund, which was supposed to be a lockbox for wastewater infrastructure, for creating parks, for revitalizing waterfronts, for cleaning up brownfield. It was supposed to be a dedicated lockbox for that purpose. Instead, it is the first line of defense to make up for budget deficits elsewhere in the state budget. That must stop. We're calling for an immediate restoration of the fund to $222 million. We'd like to see it go to $500 million in a few years. Now, New York State ranks 49th in the country in the amount of money it spends annually on the environment. That is unacceptable. At a minimum, New York should be spending 2% of its budget on the environment. So, last year, the governor held our parks, New York State parks, hostage and extracted a commitment from the legislature to back his serious reduction in the Environmental Protection Fund, and only agreed to open the parks if they agreed to that major reduction in the Environmental Protection Fund. So we're calling on the next governor and the gubernatorial candidates to pledge now that they will not hold the parks hostage, that they will restore the Environmental Protection Fund, that they will restore land preservation as a key component of the environmental and economic agenda, including farmland preservation, which is the basis which underlies a $500 million economy, agricultural economy in the Hudson Valley, and a $4.7 billion tourism industry in the Hudson Valley. Regarding the federal government, we feel there's a real opportunity for partnership here. As Jeff said, we had leaders of, we had the Secretary of Agriculture, we had the Deputy Secretary of Interior, and we had the EPA Regional Administrator in the Hudson Valley in July. And they recognized that the natural resources here are the basis of collaboration and economic prosperity for the region. We're calling on the federal government to permanently establish the Land and Water Conservation Fund and to give New York State its fair share of that crucial fund. Second of all, we're calling on the federal government to increase the amount of money that is available for farmland preservation. Nationwide, the federal government provides only $100 million to preserve land, to preserve working farms in this country. That is, here in New York State, there is a $70 million backlog of approved applications for farm land preservation easements. And nationwide, there's only $100 million. We're calling on the federal government to provide $100 million to New York State and the Hudson Valley for farmland preservation. Finally, all three organizations are working together for the Hudson River estuary that goes from New York Harbor all the way up to the Troy Dam. Right now, the federal government provides under $1 million from the National Estuary Program to the Hudson River estuary, which is accessible within an hour's drive to 1 in 12 Americans. Puget Sound gets $50 million. Chesapeake Bay gets $50 million. The Great Lakes get more than $50 million. New York's estuary gets under $1 million. We're calling on the federal government to provide $50 million to New York estuary, New York's Hudson River estuary, not just for New York Harbor, but for the entire estuary, all the way up to the Troy Dam. Riverkeeper, Scenic Hudson, and Clearwater are committed to a collaborative engagement with the business community, with city leaders like Yonkers, and our partners all the way up the river, with the other organizations like Groundwork Hudson Valley and BZAC, and the business community. We need a collaborative effort by the New York State and the federal government. Now's the time to show that leadership and that partnership. Jobs and a restored economy will be the result. Thank you very much, and I think we'd be happy to take questions. No questions?
I'll check you later.
Why today, guys? I mean, what's the significance of today as opposed to, I mean, everything you're talking about has been in the news, has been covered, the EPF, the DEC cuts. What's different today? Why are we here today?
We're here today because we're just a couple of weeks away from Election Day, and we want to hear from the gubernatorial candidates. Where do they stand on these issues? Second of all, in mid-November, the federal agencies are going to be reporting to President Obama on what are their recommendations for the America's Great Outdoors. That will set the stage for what President Obama will do after he has sent his cabinet members on these listening tours all over the country, 30 places they have visited. They've listened. Now it's time for them to talk. And we want to hear that they are going to make a commitment to the Hudson Valley. This is the perfect place to pilot the initiatives that they are talking about.
We are, if you look across the nation, we've been told we are the most organized, we're the most collaborative, we have partners that are just fantastic. I mean, not just our three organizations, not just nonprofits, but extremely strong business partners and state partners and local and county partners. Having that kind of collaboration and being able to step up with really what could be a national model, again, for the Hudson River Valley, is really critical, and now's the time when those decisions are being made. Are we going to fall backward, or are we going to take a leadership role?
Seems like that would be most. Go ahead, Paul.
And we are facing 209 more layoffs at DEC. And why today? Today, tomorrow, and every day until Governor Patterson leaves office, Riverkeeper is going to be saying no more cuts. Too many already.
It's a good question, though. It's all in the timing.
There's one more that we didn't mention that's worth mentioning, and that is that the Hudson River Estuary Program of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, which I believe 3 or 4 years ago was funded at $6 million and has staff that goes from one end of the Hudson to the other, conducting science, learning about habitat, trying to make sure that local communities get people out onto the river to swim, to fish, to boat. That group within DEC is now funded at $3 million. That's a 50% funding cut in 4 years, another disproportionate cut. And 9 out of the 13 species of fish that are predominant in the Hudson River are in decline, in serious decline, as documented by Riverkeeper and other groups as well. So you want to keep sliding backwards, keep cutting the Hudson River Estuary Program. You want to see the recovery of those fish, which could lead to not only a robust recreational fishery, but also the return of a commercial fishery. You reinvest in the Hudson River Estuary Program.
And I think a very important thing to note is that we've been successful when we've gotten the populace and the grassroots aware of these issues. If we just rely on top-down decision-making, we won't have an environment. This place will go slide back to where it was, literally in the next 10 years. If, as Pete Seeger last night, we were recording in a recording studio with this great group of young people singing about this land is your land, this land is my land. And what it took for this to turn into something beautiful from something that was nothing. And really it took thousands of people. It took music, it took speaking out, it took a strong press. We're going to give you guys a real credo on this because we need these things in a democratic society to be effective. And right now, we are really at risk. This is no joke. And right now, we have great opportunity. And as Pete said, I'd like to end, I love his quotes. You know, when the people lead, the politicians will follow.
Let me just add to the urgency, the public hearing before the Yonkers City Council Tuesday night, a capital proposal that will enable the city, under Mayor Amacone's leadership, to move forward with construction of the daylighting Sawmill River. This is the kind of project that has revitalized downtown Providence, Rhode Island, San Antonio, Texas, where we have an opportunity to add to what the mayor and developers in Scenic Hudson have enabled here on the waterfront to occur also at Larkin Plaza. So it's crucial that people turn out for that hearing. It's also a time when the city needs to hear from the dormitory of the state of New York and from New York State DEC that they are going to back this project. And another project that has been approved as a permit through the permitting at the JFK Marina could use some funding as well. City project to JFK Marina would benefit from additional funding. So these are projects that can create the kind of jobs that we're talking about here. 200 jobs, construction jobs in downtown Yonkers would be very helpful to this community. So there's real urgency about that. So feel free to speak to Jim, Rick Magner, Cliff about these issues as well. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.